In 2001, the Guinness World Records identified the oldest man on Earth. His name was Antonio Tati. He was 112 years old. He lived in Tiana, a mountain village in Sardinia, Italy. When the BBC asked him for his secret, he didn't mention any supplements. He didn't mention any gym. He said, "I live without stress. I love my neighbors, and I eat what we've always eaten here." Meanwhile, in the United States, more than 46% of people over 51 aren't getting enough protein to maintain their muscle. At 60, your body loses muscle up to 5 times faster than at 30. And the solution they're selling you, protein powders, whey shakes, the studies show they don't work if you're over 60 and already eating enough. The fitness industry is selling you a 25-year-old solution for a 65-year-old's body in the Barbagia region of Sardinia, the area with the highest concentration of male centenarians per square kilometer on the planet. 80-year-old shepherds still walk mountainous terrain, not with supplements, with 7 foods they've eaten their entire lives, most of them cheaper than a Starbucks coffee. What do these Sardinian shepherds know that modern nutritionists are ignoring? How is it possible that a poor mountain diet produces more functional muscle after 80 than modern gym protein regimens? In the next 20 minutes, you're going to learn exactly what these people eat week after week to maintain muscle, strength, and independence until 100 years old. And at the very end, I'll reveal the one ingredient no dietitian ever mentions, but Sardinians have used for centuries to protect their muscle mass. It's not a supplement. It's not a superfood. It's something most people in the West replace with a cheaper imitation, and it changes everything about how protein actually reaches your muscles. Here's the problem. You've been told that protein is protein, that if you need more muscle, you need more grams, that the solution is buying a tub of whey protein isolate, mixing it with water twice a day, and your body will rebuild what it's lost. That's completely backwards. A 2023 study took adults between 60 and 80 years old. They gave them 40 dries of whey protein isolate every single day for 12 weeks, even combined with resistance exercise. The result, 0 increase in muscle mass, 0 increase in strength. The reason isn't that protein doesn't matter. It's that you're attacking the problem from the wrong angle. A 60-plus body doesn't work like a 25-year-old bodybuilder's. You need 3 things whey shakes don't give you: distribution, diversity, and nutrient density. Sardinians don't eat concentrated protein in a shake. They distribute it across every meal throughout the day. They don't depend on a single source. They rotate between grass-fed dairy, ancient legumes, and tree nuts. And each food brings a complete ecosystem of nutrients that activate muscle synthesis in ways a processed powder never can. That's why at minute 14, I'm going to show you exactly how this eating pattern reverses the muscle loss process you thought was inevitable. We're going to walk through this in 3 levels. First, the 2 foundation foods anyone can adopt this week. Second, how Sardinians combine them to amplify the effect. And third, the secret ingredient that closes the system, the one that determines whether the protein you eat actually reaches your muscles or gets wasted along the way. Let's start with what's most accessible. Sardinians in the Barbagia region, specifically in mountain villages like Pertas de Fogo and Villagrande, eat 2 foods almost every single day: sheep or goat cheese and legumes. This isn't a coincidence. A 2021 study published in the journal Nutrients analyzed the dietary pattern of Sardinia's blue zone and documented that consumption of grass-fed dairy protein was the primary factor in preserving muscle mass in the elderly, not industrial dairy. Dairy from animals grazing on mountains. The difference is crucial. Pecorino Sardo, the traditional cheese made from sheep's milk, has a complete amino acid profile. It contains leucine, the amino acid that directly activates muscle protein synthesis. 1 ounce of pecorino delivers roughly 8 grams of protein and 2.5 grams of leucine. That's more leucine per serving than chicken breast. But here's what nobody tells you. The body of someone over 60 needs about 25 to 30 grams of protein per meal to maximize muscle protein synthesis. Below 20 grams per meal, the synthesis is blunted. This is documented in multiple studies. So if you're eating a tiny portion of protein once or twice a day, you're not hitting the threshold. Sardinians hit it 3 times daily. They eat pecorino at breakfast with bread. They add it to their lunch soup. They finish dinner with a slice. Consistent distribution. The second foundation food is legumes. The Melis family of Perdastifogu, recognized as the longest-lived family in the world, attributed their health to their daily minestrone of mixed legumes, fava beans, chickpeas, lentils. These aren't just filler. Legumes provide plant protein that complements animal protein. They're loaded with fiber that feeds gut bacteria linked to reduced inflammation, and they're cheap. A pound of dried chickpeas costs less than $2 and provides 12 servings. Compare that to a tub of whey protein at $40. Here's your Tier 1 protocol. Replace one processed protein meal per day with legumes plus sheep or goat cheese. If you don't cook, buy canned chickpeas or lentils. Rinse them. Heat them with olive oil and garlic. Add 2 oz of pecorino or aged goat cheese on the side. That's 25 grams of protein right there. Do this for breakfast. Your goal is simple. Get 20 grams of protein in your first meal of the day from real food, not powder. Do it for 7 days. You'll notice your energy stabilizes. You won't crash mid-morning. That's your body finally getting the building blocks it needs when it needs them. One common mistake: people add cheese but keep eating processed carbs. White bread, sugary cereal, pastries. Those spike your blood sugar and blunt protein absorption. Sardinians eat barley bread and flatbread made from durum wheat. Low glycemic index doesn't cause insulin spikes. If you can't find barley bread, switch to sourdough or whole grain. The fermentation process lowers the glycemic load. This foundation is just 30% of the system. At minute 16, I'm going to show you what multiplies the effect and what most people over 60 are doing that destroys their results. Now that you understand the foundation of distributed protein from real food, let's add the amplifier. The second pillar is what Sardinians call the protein rotation. They don't eat the same thing every day. They cycle through different protein and fat sources throughout the week. Monday might be chickpea soup with pecorino. Tuesday, lentil stew with goat cheese. Wednesday, fava bean salad with almonds. Thursday, back to chickpeas, but with a different preparation. This rotation does something critical that a daily whey shake can't. It exposes your gut microbiome to diverse fibers and polyphenols. A 20-20 study comparing Sardinia and Costa Rica blue zones found that dietary diversity was directly linked to lower inflammation markers in adults over 65. More diversity equals less chronic inflammation. Less inflammation means better muscle protein synthesis. Here's the modern trap that ruins everything. You're told to eat chicken breast, rice, and broccoli every single day. Meal prep Sunday. Same macros, same food. Your body adapts. Your gut bacteria narrow. Inflammation creeps up. Sardinians do the opposite. They follow the seasons. In spring, fresh fava beans. In summer, chickpeas. In fall, lentils. In winter, dried legumes and aged cheese. The variety keeps their metabolism flexible. Your Tier 2 protocol builds on Tier 1. You're already eating legumes and cheese for breakfast. Now add this. Eat legumes 4 times per week, rotating the type. Have grass-fed dairy twice daily, morning and evening. Add a handful of almonds every single day. Almonds are the base of 90% of traditional Sardinian desserts. They're loaded with vitamin E, magnesium, and healthy fats that support hormone production. After 60, your testosterone and growth hormone decline. Healthy fats help maintain what's left. Here's the combined routine. Morning, chickpea scramble with pecorino and olive oil. Mid-morning, handful of almonds. Lunch, lentil soup with goat cheese and barley bread. Afternoon, another handful of almonds or walnuts. Dinner, fava bean salad with olive oil and a slice of pecorino. You're distributing roughly 25 grams of protein across 3 meals. You're rotating your protein sources. You're feeding your gut diverse fibers. Total time investment, maybe 20 minutes of cooking if you're starting from scratch. Most of it is just heating canned legumes and adding cheese. Try this simple test right now. Stand up, cross your arms over your chest, sit down in a chair. Now stand back up without using your arms. If you can do this 10 times in 30 seconds, your leg strength is above average for your age. If you struggle to do 5, you need this protocol. That's the chair stand test. It predicts mobility and independence better than almost any other measure. Do it today. Write down your number. Do the Tier 2 protocol for 30 days. Test again. You should improve by at least 2 reps. Now you understand about 60% of the system. What's missing is the most surprising element. But first, let me address the call back I made at the beginning. Remember I said the fitness industry is selling you the wrong solution? Here's why. At minute 3, I opened a loop about distribution, diversity, and density. We've covered distribution across meals and diversity through rotation. Now comes density. And this is where it gets interesting. You've learned the foundation and the amplifier. Now comes the completion element that almost nobody talks about. The third pillar isn't a food, it's a process. And that process is ancient grain fermentation, specifically the way Sardinians prepare their bread before they eat it, and what that preparation does inside your body that no supplement protocol has ever replicated. Pain carousel is the traditional Sardinian flatbread. It's made from durum wheat or barley that has been fermented with wild bacteria for 24 to 48 hours before baking. That fermentation isn't just a flavoring technique, it fundamentally changes the starch. A 2018 study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition compared the blood glucose and insulin responses of people eating standard whole wheat bread against people eating long-fermented ancient grain flatbread. Same carbohydrate content on paper, same portion size. The insulin response after fermented barley flatbread was 40% lower. Why does that matter for muscle? Here's the mechanism nobody explains. Insulin spikes after eating carbohydrates don't just affect blood sugar. They trigger inflammatory cascades that directly interfere with muscle protein synthesis. Every time you eat a high glycemic carbohydrate alongside your protein, even good protein, even leucine-rich pecorino, you are partially canceling the anabolic signal from that protein. The spike happens, the inflammation follows, the muscle synthesis signal gets muted before it lands. Sardinians eat their protein distributed across 3 meals, but they always eat it alongside long-fermented grain bread. The protein lands in a metabolic environment where synthesis can proceed cleanly. No inflammatory interference, no insulin spike blocking the signal. The fermented grain is the delivery vehicle. Without it, the protein system you built in tiers 1 and 2 loses a significant part of its effect. Here's the ingredient nobody mentions. Barley, not barley extract, not barley capsules. Actual barley, sourdough bread. You can find barley flour at most health food stores. Mix it with a sourdough starter. Let it ferment overnight at room temperature and bake it thin the next morning. If that isn't practical, real sourdough rye is the closest substitute available in most Western grocery stores, provided the fermentation is genuine. Check the ingredient list. It should contain nothing other than rye flour, water, salt, and starter. No commercial yeast. Commercial yeast rises in 2 hours. Fermentation takes at least 12. The health effect lives entirely in that difference. Here's your Tier 3 complete system. Morning. Goat milk kefir with a handful of almonds and a slice of barley sourdough. The kefir provides fermented dairy protein. The bread is the metabolic anchor. Lunch. Rotating legume soup with aged pecorino and a piece of fermented flatbread alongside. The bread is not a side, it is part of the protein delivery mechanism. Afternoon, handful of walnuts. Dinner, chickpea salad with raw goat cheese, olive oil, and herbs on a slice of true sourdough rye. Do this 6 days a week. On the 7th day, eat whatever you want. Sardinians have feast days. They don't stress about perfection. Now let me close the loops. At the beginning, I asked how an 80-year-old shepherd maintains muscle better than a 60-year-old American on protein shakes. Here's the complete answer. The shepherd distributes his protein across 3 meals, roughly 25 to 30 grams each. That keeps his muscle protein synthesis elevated all day. The American drinks 50 grams in one shake, floods his system, and most of it gets oxidized for energy or turned to glucose. Wasted. The shepherd rotates his protein sources. His gut stays diverse and inflammation stays low. The American eats chicken and whey every day. His gut narrows. Inflammation rises. Muscle synthesis drops. The shepherd eats every protein meal with fermented barley bread. His insulin stays flat after eating. His anabolic signals land clean. The American eats protein with processed crackers or commercial sliced bread. His insulin spikes. His muscle synthesis gets muted at the delivery stage. Three mechanisms, three failure points in the Western approach, three solutions in the Sardinian pattern. That's why at minute 14 I said this pattern reverses muscle loss. It attacks all three mechanisms: protein synthesis timing, gut inflammation, and glucose management around meals. Modern supplements address the first one poorly and ignore the other two entirely. Here's what you'll feel in the timeline. First 7 days, more stable energy, no mid-morning crashes, better digestion. Your bowel movements will improve because of the fiber from both legumes and fermented grain. First 30 days, better recovery after activity. You'll feel less sore the day after walking or exercising. You might notice your clothes fit differently because inflammation and water retention drop together. First 90 days, measurable strength increase. Retest that chair stand. You should improve by 3 to 5 reps. Your grip strength will improve. You'll feel more stable on stairs. Beyond 90 days, this becomes your new normal. You're not thinking about macros or supplements. You're eating real food that your ancestors ate. Your body recognizes it. Your gut loves it. Your muscles respond. One final mistake people make at this level. They add all 7 foods but keep eating processed junk on the side. Chips, cookies, soda. You can't out-eat bad food with good food. The Sardinian diet works because it's 90% whole foods. If you're going to add these 7 foods, remove the processed ones. Trade the chips for almonds. Trade the breakfast cereal for legumes and cheese. Trade the commercial sliced bread for real sourdough. Now let me close the second loop. At minute 3, I told you I'd explain why this inverts the muscle loss process. Here's the mechanism. After 60, your body becomes resistant to the anabolic signals from protein. This is called anabolic resistance. You need more protein per meal to get the same muscle building effect you got at 30. But there's a second factor. Chronic inflammation from poor diet, stress, and inactivity blocks the anabolic signals even when you eat enough protein. You're pressing the gas pedal, but the brake is on. The Sardinian system releases the brake. The diverse legumes reduce gut inflammation. The fermented grain keeps insulin flat, so protein signals land cleanly. The distributed protein provides constant anabolic stimulus across the day. You're no longer fighting your body, you're working with it. That's the principle that makes aging graceful instead of fearful. You're not trying to biohack your way out of biology. You're aligning with a pattern that's worked for centuries. Let me make this crystal clear. The complete system has 3 tiers. Tier 1, replace 1 processed protein meal with legumes and sheep or goat cheese. Get 20 grams of protein at breakfast from real food. Do this for 7 days. Tier 2, add the protein rotation. Legumes 4 times per week, rotating the type. Grass-fed dairy twice daily. A handful of almonds every day. Distribute 25 grams of protein across 3 meals. Do this for 30 days. Tier 3, add fermented ancient grain bread, barley sourdough, or true sourdough rye to every protein meal. This is the metabolic anchor that keeps insulin flat. So the protein in tiers 1 and 2 actually reaches your muscles, instead of being canceled by an inflammatory spike. Do this for 90 days. You'll feel the difference in 7 days. You'll measure it in 30. You'll live it in 90. Here's the contrast. In the West, we've been taught that muscle loss after 60 is inevitable. We spend billions on protein powders that studies show don't work for our age. We eat the same food every day and wonder why we're inflamed. We eat protein alongside commercial bread and processed crackers and wonder why the protein isn't working. We replace the fermented grain our grandparents ate without knowing why it mattered, and we lose muscle year after year. In Sardinia, they eat what their grandparents ate. They don't count macros. They don't read labels. They eat cheese, legumes, nuts, and fermented barley bread. They walk their land. They laugh with neighbors. And at 80, they're still climbing mountains. The difference isn't genetics. The Mellis family wasn't genetically special. They ate minestrone and fermented flatbread every single day. The difference is pattern. Consistent, simple, ancestral. You can adopt this pattern starting today. Go to your kitchen, check what you have. If you have canned chickpeas, rinse them. If you have any cheese, check if it's from grass-fed animals. If not, add pecorino or aged goat cheese to your shopping list. Check if you have real sourdough or barley flour. If not, add that to the list too. Tonight, heat your chickpeas with olive oil, garlic, and a pinch of salt. Serve with 2 ounces of cheese and a slice of true sourdough on the side. That's your first Tier 1 meal. Tomorrow morning, do it again. Do this for 7 days. Next week, add the rotation. Next month, add the fermented grain bread to every protein meal. Don't try to perfect this overnight. Start with Tier 1, master it for a week, then add Tier 2, master it for a month, then complete the system with Tier 3. Slow, steady, consistent. That's how Sardinians do it. That's how you'll make it last. Drop your age in the comments below. I want to see how many people over 55 are ready to try this pattern, and share this video with someone who's been told muscle loss is inevitable. Show them there's another way. Remember Antonio Tete at 112 years old? He didn't mention supplements or gyms. He mentioned food, community, and peace. You don't need to move to Sardinia. You need to eat like them. You don't need expensive programs. You need cheap foods eaten the right way. Start today. 7 days from now, you'll feel different. 30 days from now, you'll measure it. 90 days from now, you'll be living proof that muscle loss after 60 isn't inevitable. It's optional. If this story changes the way you look at the simple foods in your pantry, please subscribe and like the channel. We are uncovering the history and health secrets that have been overlooked for too long. Let's cultivate a stronger future together. The next treasure of longevity will be revealed soon.